I want to pivot from this a little bit. Well, I want to pivot from this and go back to some of the stuff we were talking about before, the historical component of this
Hmm.
in our own country. We've talked about, how the French Revolution kind of copied us and to one extent or another, or at least they had a perception of us that they were inspired by. Yeah, we came out of the post-Enlightenment age. We did not exactly come out of the most Christian of ages, or the most Christian of movements, to use that word. So,
Yeah. So it makes me cringe a little bit every time somebody mentions or somebody makes the claim that, oh, the United States was founded on Christian principles and we are a Christian nation founded by Christians for Christians and in Christ and yada, yada, yada. For one thing, Christ is actually not mentioned in any founding document of the United States. Ever.
it's we the
Christ, the
people, right?
second person of the Trinity, is not. It's we the people. God is not mentioned at all in the Constitution. And the Declaration of Independence only makes a vague reference to their creator. People are in that men are created equal, endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. So that is the deist element of we're going to acknowledge that there is a God that exists, but he doesn't really have a whole lot to do with us.
So we're on our own to an extent, and we have to,
Yeah.
we kind of turn ourselves into gods in one form or another as a result, because we need someone to worship again.
Basically.
If
So
we've kicked him
we're
off to the
founded,
side,
so we're founded on basically immediate post-Enlightenment thought. And anything post-Enlightenment is dubious at best. Right? Any way of thinking is dubious to begin with
mm-hmm.
if it comes out of the Enlightenment. And a lot of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin in particular, looked up to men like Rousseau and Voltaire as heroes, and basically as almost as minor deities themselves. Like Voltaire's tomb was a place of pilgrimage for a long time for a guy who wasn't anywhere near as smart as he claimed to be. But he was this great Enlightenment thinker, and even Benjamin Franklin made several pilgrimages to Voltaire's tomb. So we kind of have to wonder and take into account a little bit the fact that we are a nation founded on post-Enlightenment principles and philosophies by men who were a minority Christians and professed and practicing Christians. Most of them were deists and Masons. Even a lot of those who were professed and practicing Christians were also Masons. Because I think Washington was a professed Christian of some kind,
Honestly, don't know.
but I'm
So,
not positive. But he was very much a Mason.
yeah, my understanding was that he was a Mason. He may have even, I want to say it was a high-ranking Mason, but it was kind of a social
was.
thing, as opposed to necessarily like I espoused whatever the tenets of.
Well, we say that, but Masonry was important enough to him that by his direction, the foundation stone of the Capitol was laid with Masonic rituals and symbols.
It could still be a social thing then, but which is not to say that it was a good idea. It was not.
No, it's not a good idea at all. And as a brief aside, I don't view Masonry the way most people do. Most people view Masonry as, oh, it's purely just a social club, or, oh, they are the literal devil. I don't view it in either of those ways. I'm perfectly fine doing business with Masons. My chiropractor is a Mason. I actually have no quarrel with Masons in particular. Freemasonry as an idea concerns me. And there isn't really any... I haven't seen any primary source of formal confirmation to what we as Catholics get told constantly, that the purpose of Freemasonry is to undermine and destroy the Catholic Church, ultimately. That is the literal, specific purpose for which Freemasons were founded. I have not actually seen any record indication of that.
Yeah. I know it's a banned group.
I know we're not permitted to do it, but I think we're not permitted to join, and no Catholic in good standing can join the Masons. But it's mostly, I think that Freemasonry is an example of the hubris of Enlightenment thought, where people wanted to, a bunch of guys wanted to not have God, and they wanted to not be formally members of a church, but they wanted to have that social organization, and they wanted to have some kind, the rites and the rituals and everything. And because it was Enlightenment, we put everything on, we make everything about the light of reason, which is a big thing for them. So they make up a whole bunch of stuff, and they borrow a whole bunch of symbolism and ritual from various places that they have studied, various pagan practices and pagan symbols, and they even use some Christian symbols as well, and some Jewish symbols. And later on, they started adopting some Muslim symbols. That's where the Shriners come from. I don't know. I think the dangers of Freemasonry more come from unintended results of it, rather than from a bunch of guys getting together someplace in England in the 18th century and going, let's see, how can the 5 of us form an organization that will completely dismantle and take down the Catholic Church?
That's fair. Yeah, it didn't have to be for that motive.
It wasn't necessarily for that motive. I actually believe them when it comes to their foundation, but I think it was just they were messing with powers that they didn't understand, and that they actually thought were frivolous and not really a thing. It's one of those things that was done kind of either ironically or purely symbolically that wound up having very serious implications for a lot of people.
Makes sense.
But anyway, that's my aside on the Masons. That's my view on them. I've not been proven really in either direction. I just know as Catholics we cannot be both Catholic and Mason and Masonic at the same time, for very clear reasons. But it is.
So this goes into the foundation of the country.
Yeah, it is worth noting that Masonic rites, Masonic ways of thinking were deeply rooted, which are not Christian, were deeply rooted in this country's founding. And this sort of rationalist enlightenment, things are just symbolic, we continuously see that.